The Gunita ng Himagsikan 1964 is a memoir written by the Philippine first President Emilio Aguinaldo. He based it on his diaries preserved documents and lore from his family elder. It is unknown if the original diary still exists, but finding it would provide authentic evidence for Philippine history. We will delve deeper to understand the Gunita ng Himagsikan. First is the background of the authors. General Emilio Aguinaldo was born on March 22, 1869, in Kawit, Cavite, son of Carlos Aguinaldo and Trinidad Fami, a Chinese mestizo couple with 8 children, which Emilio was the seventh. The Aguinaldo family was quite well-to-do as his father, Carlos, was the community's appointed gobernador Salo. He attended high school at the Colegio de San Juan Letran, but he had to stop because of his father's death. He then took up the responsibility helping his mother run their farm. At 17, he became the Kabisa barangay of Binakayan. At 25, he became Cavite Vajo, first Gobernador Salo Capitan Municipal. He joined the Katipunan and used the nom ni Gueri Magdalo. He became the President of the Philippines and the Biak na Bato, the youngest president at the age of 29. Emilio Aguinaldo died in Quezon City on February 6, 1964 from heart attack. He was 94 years, 10 months, and 15 days old when he died. Aguinaldo wanted to correct history by making reference to the historians' confused accounts on the beginning of the revolution. Except for those that were written, other details had been forgotten. Many details shared inconsistencies because not all resources were documented for lack of reliable resources.
Aguinaldo mga gunita at himagsikan. Historical background of the document. Aguinaldo described a lot in his old age between 1928 and 1946. He produced Been a Long Hunt in the first volume of his memoirs, Mga Gunita ng Himagsikan, 1964, translated from the original Tagalog as Memoirs of Revolution. 1967, in his preface, Aguinaldo says the memoirs were based on a diary he kept, documents he preserved, and family lore gathered from his elders. Mga Gunita ng Himagsikan was officially released in 1967. Ambert Ocampo, 2017, suspected that Aguinaldo also wrote a Volume 2 which may have dealt with the resumption of the Philippine Revolution against Spain in Philippines-American War. Until now, no one knows whether it actually written, but Ocampo hints that it might be hidden in a secret compartment, drawer, or passageway in Aguinaldo's shrine in
Second
Kawit,
Events of the
Cavite.
Gunita ng Himagsikan. Chapter 28, My Bloodiest Fight. Under Aguinaldo's command, the Filipinos defeated the Spanish troops in Cavite. The whole province of Cavite was liberated from the Spaniards. Chapter 30, Magdiwang Council reorganized. Cavite was liberated through the efforts of both the Magdiwang and Magdalo. The Magdiwang and Magdalo are the two factions of KKK or the Sangguniang Bayan of KKK. The Magdalo and Magdiwang took a big role in claiming the victory of independence from the lalawigan of Cavite against Spain.
Chapter 38, My Election to the Presidency. The Heroes Convention was discussed in this chapter, wherein Magdalo and Magdiwang have gathered together to elect their new government. Aguinaldo was surprised that he was elected president despite the fact that Bonifacio was the one who arranged the meeting. This was announced to him by Colonel Vicente Reggio de Dios while he was in Pasong Santal, Las Marinas. Bonifacio was nominated in various positions but only won as Secretario de Interior. Everything was fine until General Daniel Terona objected and saying that he is not qualified because he is not a lawyer. Bonifacio took out his revolver and pointed it to Terona. Supremo reinstated that they had an agreement that everyone will respect the elected candidate. He also questioned why his win is being objected, but because the Supremo was offended, he stood up announcing that the said election was void. and then he left without saying anything. Colonel Santiago Relio continued the meeting and talked about making the recent election official. After this, the meeting was stopped and they waited for General Emilio Aguinaldo to arrive. When Emilio Aguinaldo arrived, he made his speech and accepted the presidency he was given. He also promised to his fellows that he will not let them down. In March 23, Major Andres Villanueva of Naik ordered his battalion to camp. At the same time, a resolution was passed voiding the meeting they had in Tejeros, Malabon. Meanwhile, Aguinaldo sent the troops of Ternete, Maragondon, and Magallanes to Pasong, Santol. Unfortunately, the enemies have successfully raided the area, and General Crespolo Aguinaldo on March 25 of the same year. Chapter 42, Military Court. General Emilio Aguinaldo consulted the other generals about the creation of military court. However, they did not agree on this plan because of two reasons. They are in the midst of a war and they are attacked by the enemies every day. This chapter also stated the serious charges against the Bonifacio brothers. First, an anonymous letter of accusing Aguinaldo an alleged plot to surrender to General Lacambre. Second, the brothers have a plan to establish another government. Third, their plan to liquidate Aguinaldo. Fourth, the escape of Bonifacio brothers together with General Artemio Ricarte to escape from the responsibility of their acts. And the last one, their dereliction of duty because they refused to fight for their country. The generals of Aguinaldo, specifically General Pio del Peral and General Mariano Norel, convinced Miyung to execute the Bonifacio brothers. At the end, Aguinaldo stated that the trials of the Bonifacio brothers immediately started a night before it was moved in Maragondon. Chapter 44, Death of the Bonifacio brothers. The leaders decided to give a punishment of death to the Bonifacio brothers. Emilio Aguinaldo stated that they are not the enemy of the state. He added that he only wants peace in the country and at the same time to have order in his men. He doesn't want people to be harmed. Emilio Aguinaldo lowered their punishment and told them to not kill them, but instead to exile them and throw them to the mountains of Pico del Oro. But Pio del Peral and Mariano Norel continued the punishment of death. Andres Bonifacio and Procopio went to the mountain of Tala, and it is the place where the brothers were killed.
And last, we're able to know what are some details of what happened during the election of presidency and Tejeros Convention. We all know that the election of presidency in Tejeros Convention was the first presidential election in the Philippine history, attended by Filipino revolutionary leaders. Emilio Aguinaldo won and was elected president of the new revolutionary government over Andres Bonifacio. Bonifacio, on the other hand, was elected as Director of the Interior. Initially, Bonifacio accepted his position but was insulted when Daniel Terona objected. Bonifacio declared the proceedings of the Tejeros Convention null and void and established a new government. This was seen as an act of treason by the others, and Bonifacio was charged with refusing to recognize the newly established revolutionary government. He was arrested and sentenced to death in Maragondon,
The
Cavite.
relevance of the document in the contemporary times, or its relation to the present time, are firstly is to remind us on what happened amid the revolution and be informed by the significance of oneness. Because of the battle between Filipinos and the Spanish Revolution, there is a need for unity of every Filipinos, just like the unity back then of the higher officials. Because of their unity, they have formed great warriors or mahuhusay na katipunero in aid to the intense rebel
The
against the
reflection of our
Spaniards to
report
achieve our
with
freedom.
regards to mga gunita ng Himagsikan. Mga gunita ng Himagsikan is a big help to understand the history of how the Spaniards abuses their power and how our heroes make a difference to claim our freedom from Spaniards, and to know that history is so precious that we need to cherish because of the sacrifices of our heroes.